Have you ever watched a film and marveled at the absolutely perfect, creamy, cinematic skin? How is it that they're able to get such richness? Was it the camera, the film stock, or the big budget colorist? I'm sure you've seen tutorials on getting perfect skin tones using the flesh line in the vectorscope, yada yada yada, and I have a video for that which I'll link in the card above, but this isn't that. This is a game changer that's gonna make your skin tones more singular, more attractive in a way that's gonna allow you to finally get the rich, creamy looking skin tones that you've always dreamed of. In fact, you may even want to keep this to yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're on Premiere, Final Cut, or DaVinci, I've got you covered. You'll just want to see how this all comes together in the final look at the end, so don't skip any parts. Here we have a model with great skin that will best illustrate this effect. We need to make qualification on the skin tones, making sure to add plenty of feathering and blur to the key. Add a layer mixer and connect the nodes like so. Then go to the blur panel and add some blur. Now this may look unusual, but we're gonna use a very special blending mode. We're gonna use soft light and bam! Smooth filmic quality you'll see as I toggle this node on and off. You could look at the math for soft light. It looks something like this, but what effectively is happening here is it's adding density and richness to the shadows and a softening to the highlights of the skin with a gentle film-like roll-off. And combine that with the blur, it's adding a smoothing effect or like a promise filter, making the skin tones look creamy and beautiful. Soft light is a softer form of the overlay blending mode, and there's just something about it that's very filmic, very cinematic. We can also refine the density in the color controls, either lifting or lowering the density in the shadows, midtones, and highlights until we get something that we like. And if the effect is ever too strong, we can dial it back to taste with the output gain control. For Final Cut Pro, make sure your base correction is complete and make a duplicate of your clip by holding down the Option key and dragging a copy directly above. Then disable the bottom clip with Shortcut V. Now in the top clip, add the green screen keyer effect to isolate the skin. Now even though this effect is made for keying out green screens, it's the only option we have for separating the skin tones from the rest of the background against an alpha channel. To start, sample the skin by clicking and dragging over it. Invert the key and turn down the spill level to 0. Then refine the selection through trial and error until you have isolated just the skin tones. The biggest key here is to turn up the softening a lot. We want to avoid any unnecessary artifacts outside our main selection, as this will show in the final and it looks really weird. So this works best when you can get a really clean key. Okay, now add a Gaussian blur effect, enable the bottom clip, go back to the top clip with our skin, and change the blending mode to soft light. If I toggle this clip on and off, we can see the amazing effect this has on our skin tones, and it almost has like the rich, subtractive color effect of film where we're getting this beautiful density, very filmic. If we want, we can adjust the tonality in the skin further, though you'll need to add a correction after the keyer as not to mess with the qualifications of the key. And then we can play with the density further. If you ever feel the effect is too strong, we can simply dial back the opacity. But I think this looks great at 110%, so I'm leaving it. Okay, for Premiere Pro, make sure your base correction or all your color correction is done first. Make a duplicate of the clip and place it on top. Then disable the bottom clip so we don't see it. Search for the Ultra key effect and apply it to the top clip. Again, this is for keying green screens, but we'll hack it to make it work. With the eyedropper tool, make a selection on the skin. Whoa, don't worry, we'll next apply the Alpha Adjust and check Invert Alpha. Whew. Okay, so coming back to Ultra key, under spill suppression, 0 all the values. Now it's just a trial and error of adjusting these matte parameters until we have a nice clean key on our skin. I'm okay that we're picking up other similar colors, but just try not to have any rogue pixels outside the main selection as they will show as artifacts. And make sure to add plenty of softening. Next, we'll add a Gaussian blur effect and add some blur. And enable the bottom clip. Now to get cinematic skin tones that are truly to die for, we'll go to the blending mode for the top clip and set it to soft light. Chef's kiss. Look at the richness and softening that's added to our skin. We can further refine the density in a new instance of Lumetri, or dial back the effect with the opacity control. I think this looks good at about 110%. Now all we have left is to complete the color grade so we get a final finished look. In Premiere and Final Cut, you'll either want to nest the clips, as in the case in Premiere, or create a compound clip in Final Cut. Alternatively, you could also just use an adjustment layer positioned above the clips. In DaVinci Resolve, just add a node after the layer mixer. And in each case, I'm using Cinema Grade for the final look because I like the way in which I'm able to see real-time previews of different LUTs and look ideas. This one looks really good at about 60%. Here's the final before and after. I mean, it just looks like $1,000,000, and it didn't take us that many steps to get here. In fact, we did this with only 3 nodes. For the guy with the teardrop tattoo, this Mint preset looks really good and gives it that sort of action thriller, big budget look. Here's where we started and how much this has transformed through only color grading. Okay, for Premiere Pro, I'll choose this preset and dial it back to about 70%. If I toggle the skin tones treatment on and off, I mean, it's really lacking without the skin tones adjustment, and it enhances the shot. Now, if you're curious like I was how this method compares in each of the 3 software programs, I found it easiest to apply in DaVinci with a couple nodes and a layer mixer, whereas in Premiere and Final Cut, it required more of a workaround, duplicating clips and using their green screen keyers. However, regardless of the software you're using, this technique is the best way to get creamy, cinematic-looking skin tones in post. And if you like how quick and easy it was to get eye-catching looks with Cinema Grade, I'll include a link for it in the description below. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off Cinema Grade using coupon code SKINTONE20 at checkout. With Cinema Grade, you get point-and-click grading where you're able to literally click and brighten shadows in the viewer, change the color of the sky, or skin, get accurate cinema quality exposure with the false color feature, and real-time previews of your favorite LUTs. Plus, you get 90 built-in color looks and film emulations. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed exploring this topic and making it for you. If you want to take your images further, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.